Okay, so I'll go briefly with our group's discussion. So one of the things we focused was how do we give value to information theory, and we made this long-standing comparison to machine learning, which is very sexy these days, and how could we make information theory valuable as an application, as a principle. And so one of the things that popped up is early intervention, and whether, while you're teaching statistics, why not just introduce that ugly word, which is entropy? And, well, it depends on your perspective. But I mean, why not introduce it so that as an undergrad, at least you've heard about it? And, once you go to grad school, you might think that that's something that you might want to get extra training on. So in order to incentivize, obviously, if there was a prize for biologists going into the year, so if there was targeted funding, that would be an obvious incentive. Another thing we have been discussing, and I guess we've been discussing most of the day, is whether we can generate guidelines on how to apply information theory and the like, how to make information theory and communication theory tools more accessible, whether you can check whether it's a pro forma process that you can use to check whether information theory fits into what you're doing, and again whether this could be stored in some kind of GitHub type resource. And one interesting idea, I think, was that taking on the work done by Chris and others, whether artificial life would be a very visual way to convey the importance of information theory. If you had, deployable models where you could demonstrate, that this is not just some theoretical thing that we care about. It actually, you could show the influence of noise in information transmission in a quote-unquote living system. So the other thing we focused on, again, early training, make this a mainstream thing, just like variance, if variance is a mainstream thing, which I'm not sure of, and then more formal training at the graduate level. We talked about the idea of modules that could be fit into the undergrad curriculum, both in biology and in engineering. And then we did talk about textbooks, and we concluded that there was no textbook. And then no textbook right now that you could go to as a biologist and an engineer, right? And then we said, well, do you really need a textbook? Is the time of textbooks already passed? And whether some kind of free and online basic primer with links called Wikipedia, no, not Wikipedia, but something like it, that would allow people to get that first dipping of the toes and then move on. Somebody mentioned that there's already something like it. That was John, I think, that mentioned information theory for smart people, which is a short 6-page primer. It gets you going. And we also talked about the community of having meetings, maybe some intro workshops, things more focused get-togethers like Gordon conferences that could bring together slightly wider audience that we have here today, but some sort of same profile. Things like Nimbus, which can facilitate an engineer and a mathematician and a biologist to get together to see if what they have in common actually pays off and can lead to a project. And then we were talking a long time because we did our homework fast, and then we had like 20 minutes for free roaming discussion about, again, this challenge to make information theory sexy, like machine learning is sexy today. And so one of the things that came to the table was that machine learning has been made sexy just by big data. So what type of data would make information theory sexy, right? And so we were talking a long time about how should a biologist go about gathering data that would be useful for making. And I thought that even though we didn't get anywhere close to an answer, just opening that thought process, I thought was useful. And I think that's all I had, unless somebody from my group has something to add.